speech on why phones should not be allowed in school. We can all agree that technology has improved tremendously over the last 20 years. These evolvements and improvements are great for our society and world, but how are they affecting our students and our teachers? They're affecting our school system so negatively. They're affecting the academic growth, the mental health, and the social well-being of the students and the teachers. Cell phones in the classroom are very distracting and make the teachers have to battle for the students' attention. They even lower test scores, which reflect badly on the teachers. There are many resolutions in play that have started over the last few years that are aiding the betterment of this issue. NEU Today senior writer Tim Walker published an article, Take Cell Phones Out of the Classroom, where he talks about cell phone bans in school that are proliferating in the face of mounting evidence that the devices are taking a serious toll on students' ability to focus in class and their overall health. This is so true, that phones are very distracting, taking the attention away from learning and their growth. And that's the whole point of us being here. The Auburn University published an article called Cell Phones Bans Should Improve Overall School Environment, where they talk about how cell phone bans have truly changed the world of the school and the system itself. They talk about how cell phone use contributes to lack of focus and negative impacts on learning. And they also even talk about a lot of the social aspects, how social workers are seeing concerns for the social impact of this issue. And phones are contributing to that. They're hindering students from learning how to be social and how to interact with peers. And that's so important. That's something that we learn from school that's not necessarily in a PowerPoint or in a book. We learn that through face-to-face contact and learning how to sort out our differences face-to-face with one another. Whenever these phones have been taken out of school, we've seen better test results and better grades. And that's something that we should all, as a school and environment, be striving to get. That's the whole point of school, is for improvement. Education Week author Ariana Porter published an article, Do cell phone bans really work? And this is where they talk about how Florida, one of the first states to instate these restrictions on phones, have seen better test results and attendance. That's the whole point of school, is to grow academically and to be here and be present and learn and grow. And with these restrictions, we're seeing incredible jumps and leaps to make those gaps larger and more information retained. So now that we've talked a little bit about how this affects the students, let's talk about how this kind of affects the teachers as well. Teachers and administrators are having to battle a lot for the attention of students, and that's not fair to them. Teachers view a lot of the bans and restrictions as a positive change, and it increases a better learning environment and a better work environment for them. We've seen a lot of impact from the phones from the grades of 7th grade through 12th grade. That's when kids are starting to get a phone, but that's also when the kids are reaching their peak of their social health issues. That's when we're seeing the most depression and anxiety and worry in these kids. And a lot of it can be linked back to phones and the use of social media and some of that stuff as well. The article from NEU Today says that teachers should not have to compete with phones for students' attention. It's very tiring, and that's simply not their job. They're there to teach, and students are there to learn. And if we can all do our job, then we'll all grow and we'll all be better. And we'll see better statistics because of it. Teachers are one of the bigger advocates for tougher uniform approaches to this issue. They say that by the phones being in the classroom, it's taking less time away from teaching because they're constantly having to police the phones and restrict the phones, and that's taking away time that they could be teaching students. A lot of the district policies that are in state right now are very inconsistent and vague, which makes them harder to enforce, and that's the problem. There's no consistency and there's no direct line of consequences for the students that choose to disregard the rules. And even most parents can agree with a lot of the cell phone policies that are in place today, and that's such an amazing thing to have a united front from all the administrators, parents, and teachers working together to make the kids grow, be smarter, and achieve more things academically and socially. So what are the resolutions? So here's one of the many resolutions that are kind of coming into play. This is a yonder pouch. It's used to keep the phones out of the day-to-day school environment. And so what you do, you start by powering your phone off, and by doing this, it allows for no notifications to come through whatsoever, so that even if it is in the pouch, it can't go off because it's simply turned on. Then you just slip it into this little pouch, and you can put any other device that goes in there. They all fit, an Apple Watch, AirPods, whatever. And then you click this little thing in, and then it stays in there and it's locked. And so basically how this works is the teacher will come through and check that every student puts their phone in this yonder bag. at the beginning of each day. And then at the end of each day, there are magnets placed throughout the school and throughout the hallway that only teachers can unlock. And so students at the end of the day can simply put one of these little knobs and press in, and it'll unlock, and they have access to their phone. Their phone's with them. In case of an emergency, their parents can call the school and say, hey, I need so-and-so to get their phone out. And that's how that works, because phones are not bad. Technology itself is not bad. That's not the argument here. The argument is that they just don't have a place in the school building. Another option for restricting these phones is cell phone pockets. They're basically over-the-door shoe hangers that kids can just simply set their phone in. It's a perfect place to park them. They're out of sight, out of mind. They're away from the kids. Kids are able to start focusing because their phone's hung up and they have no access to it. That's another one. Above all else, the main point that has to happen with these rules and restrictions and resolutions to these problems is consistency. There has to be a common front presented from teachers and administrators that say, hey, these phones aren't okay and we're not going to allow them in our school. That's the main point. Whatever they decide to do, whether it's the yonder pouch or the cell phone pockets, they have to be consistent. There has to be rules and regulations that are set in place that work for each school. Some may say that the research doesn't back this. And while for some places that might be true, but that's simply because not what works for one school is going to work for another. It's also not been very long since these restrictions have been set in place. So only 2 years worth of evidence and statistics aren't going to show major improvement. This is an over-the-time kind of experiment that I think we will see more as we go on. The goal is not to take away technology, but it is to control what technology is being used and the purposes of that technology. Nothing wrong with tech. It's come a long way and it's done amazing things for our society. But we just need to learn how to control it so that we can grow better, be stronger, and learn more. So let's all take the investment in ourselves and agree to put our phones away and learn.